Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Midweek Report. Wait, I did it again. Welcome to Midweek Gaming.
You did the thing.
One of these days, I'm gonna be able to open up with the right name. Oh well. I go through all this trouble to change the name, and I still cannot, for the life of me, even say my own name that I changed correctly. Oh well. One of these days. Anyways, welcome to Midweek Gaming. I'm Nick. Over on the other side of the mic is, of course, Justin, providing entertainment through whatever he's playing at the moment.
Gaming.
Gaming. Speaking of gaming, topic for this week. Again, bit of a more hectic week, so we're going to do something a bit more interesting, less breaking news related and more of an update. Things are kind of going back to normal nowadays, and with summer coming up, we thought we'd touch on some of the big conventions that tend to run either during summer or shortly after it, or near its end, as well as to see what kind of happened, because the big thing happened over the last years that I cannot say or will get demonetized. Starts with a C. You know what I'm talking about.
A fun little friend who's invisible to the naked eye.
You know what I'm talking about. You know what we're talking about. But because I can't say those words, because that is a dirty word on YouTube nowadays for some reason. I don't know why. Ask Google. I don't know. But anyways, because of all of that, a lot of the conventions that generally ran either went downhill, were canceled outright, or were, a lot of stuff happened. And many of that stuff, went out the window or changed. So now that things are starting to finally recover on an official level, and we're finally starting to get back into the way things are, we thought we'd kind of take a look back and see what has survived, what has changed, and what's kind of come out of all of this, to see what the kind of summer festival scene is going to be like this year. So, starting from the top, E3. E3 is pretty big, I think. Originally was just a trade show, which was pure invite only. You'd only get in if you were related to a big company rep or were a company rep yourself, invited by the companies to see the biggest things. Eventually, it grew into something big, and it became quite famous, and as gaming took off more and more, it became more of a public thing that you could just buy tickets to as, your own thing. And it became this massive, basically show. It was all the big companies showing off their latest hardware or their new flagship titles on a grand stage. Real big thing. Real big money was put into it. But it's kind of been slowly dying in the last several years, and the big C did not help that in the slightest. Before COVID, oops, I said it. Oh, there goes the money.
He said the word.
I said the word.
There goes all the money. Man, game over.
Game over, man. Game over. But anyways, before that happened, I will now, instead of tempting myself to use it, will simply say the word that. It's hard to change one's vocabulary when you're so used to saying it in regular speech, but YouTube be YouTube, right? Anyways, before that happened, we'll just blurt it out. Like, we'll have like a beep in the video. I said it. Censor beep. But anyways, before that happened, it was already kind of starting to die. It was already starting to lose interest. They were trying to rebrand it, bring in influencers. I hate that word, not gonna lie. Such a marketing term. But anyways. And they were trying to rebrand it to be like more influencer focused, and it was just so weird and so stupid. And like I said, that didn't help either. So when that eventually happened, it was postponed, and there was talks, and long story short, now here we are in 2023, and it's officially been canceled. It is not happening this year. Not surprising, because a lot of companies were slowly pulling out as the years went on.
Most recently, it was Nintendo, wasn't it?
No, Nintendo was the first to do it. I think it was most recently Xbox pulled out. Or no, it was... No, EA pulled out. Which one was the one that most recently pulled out? It wasn't Nintendo. They were the first. It was, I can't remember who. I honestly can't remember. But you bring up Nintendo, and that actually is a point. Nintendo was actually the first ones to pull out of the convention. That kind of was, in many ways, the beginning of the end. Because Nintendo, when that happened, decided to kind of say F it and have their own... For those who don't know, Nintendo Direct, which is kind of this annual, bi-monthly thing that they do, actually came out of both E3 as well as that thing happening. And it makes sense in a way, because instead of having to go to E3 where you have to pay a lot of money, have a lot of effects and stuff, and it was a big to-do and it was very expensive to do everything. Instead, you have your own studio with your own people, just quick little one and done, and it was much cheaper, much more effective, and it was a much quicker thing to do. So it just made sense for them to go that route. Nintendo, being Nintendo, always the one to make the trend and set the trends as they are, ended up doing that, and it caught on. And a lot of other companies did that as well. Sony followed up, I think, in the next few years, or I think the year after that, and did State of Play. That was the thing they started out of that as well. EA also continued doing that. I'm not sure what EA calls it, but they call it something. And basically, that meant all the big companies had pulled out at that point. On one hand, E3 did happen, I think, last year, but it was digital, right? And on one hand, this is a good thing for the remaining competitors, right? Because the advantage, remember, this was originally a trade show. The whole point of a trade show is to sell your product. First to, you know, for those who don't know how trade shows work, basically, in long story short, the point of a trade show is originally you'd bring in, you know, store owners, Walmart, Target if you're in the US, that kind of thing. And you'd basically convince them that your product is worth selling and that it will sell. That's the whole point of a trade show. That and make connections, but that's more of a smaller thing. But like I said, as time went on, it became open to the public, and now you're selling it to just everyone, not just other businesses. Which is, like I said, where all the big price tags came in. But now that it is not as many people in the trade show, not as many big names, Xbox was actually the one who held out for the longest, and I think they're the ones who just recently pulled out. This was good for them because, like I said, that made them the ticket item of the night, right? They're the only ones who were left, so they were the ones who'd have the most money, and they'd be able to do the biggest show, and it just basically gave them a lot more time to basically prance around on stage and show off, I don't know, Call of Duty 96.
The Xbox show.
Yeah, that was the big draw of the night, right? And it gave them more time, and it allowed them to have bigger and badder, you know, stage acts. So it worked for them for a little bit, but I think, like I said, they were the ones who pulled out most recently. Either that or Activision Blizzard. I can't be sure which one. Though, isn't Activision Blizzard owned by Microsoft these days? So maybe that's kind of one and the same, me saying there's a difference, but whatever.
There's that.
But yeah, there's that. So yeah, E3 has officially been canceled this year, so 2023 E3 is no longer a thing. Everyone's suspecting that this will probably be the end of E3 in general, because like I said, E3 had been dying for a long time now. I think there was a lot of talk behind backstage of it being being a lot more of a controversy backstage. There was I think there was some like infighting going on backstage I remember hearing about. It was a big to-do. But yeah, no, so that will probably be the end of E3. Very much this year, potentially in the long term permanently, we will see. But a lot of people are betting that it will be the end of E3 in general. A shame, like I said, because it is probably one of the oldest gaming festivals in the world, and arguably was one of the most famous, so that's unfortunate, but it is what it is, right? Moving on, we have in June, well, I don't know, E3 came first or after? I don't know. But anyways, in June, I believe it was June 6th, 7th, something like that, all the shows that we talk about, links in the description, by the way, for exact website stuff. Moving on to the Summer Games Fest. So, speaking of that, which again I cannot say on YouTube because YouTube no likey, but there were, like I said, a lot of modifications that were made during that happening. I sound like, when I said that, I sound like a movie. That happened.
It happened.
That which must not be named.
The unknown one.
The unknown one. The reckoning has come. But anyways. But like I said, because that happened, a lot of companies had to adapt and took the advantage to kind of pull out of E3 and do a lot more cheaper, kind of less big budget things, which they could do more often as a result, as well as a lot quicker. Well, big companies weren't the only ones who took advantage of this kind of push to more of an online format because, you know, social distancing, which I can say on YouTube. Yeah, I can say that. Just had to check. But anyways, because of social distancing, like I said, there was a push to online. We already covered YouTube. I mean, we already covered what Nintendo did, PlayStation, but they weren't the only ones. Jeff Keighley, the ever host of the games industry, I think we can officially call him the master of ceremonies in the games industry. I think that is an official thing we can call him nowadays. Decided to launch his own little thing. Well, I don't know if it's so little anymore, but he decided to launch the Summer Games Fest. And this was going to be a massive stream that took place early in June, June 6th or 7th, and it was a week-long thing, and basically it was kind of the E3 of summer. Not as many big names, but it was, you know, a time where big companies would come out and start showing their stuff again. Now, not everything was officially in the Summer Games Fest docket, so to speak. They weren't all officially part of the show, but for example, big Nintendo Directs might happen around this time, State of Play might also happen around this time, or the Summer State of Play, that kind of stuff. And again, it was kind of the result of that push towards online stuff, where one ceremony goes, another is inaugurated. I don't know. What's the nice word? Yeah, that'll work. Put in its place. Let's go with that. Where one ceremony ends, another is put in its place, and that was the Summer Games Fest. And that is happening again this year. Again, I believe it's June 6th or 7th. Again, official dates are on the links below provided. No real information yet as to who will be attending that particular Games Fest, because, again, it's a bit early still. We're still technically just in spring. So, give it a few months, we'll probably find out who's attending the festival and who's not by,
We'll see.
May or April. I just had to remind myself how months work for a second. It's so weird. When you don't think about things for long enough, even if it's just months in order, you eventually forget them. I'm losing it. I swear I am. But anyways. So yeah, that's one thing to come out of that happening. So not all things bad came out of that. Again, it is getting annoying to say that every time, but YouTube will pin our necks to the wall if we don't. But, so yeah, that's happening, so expect that in June. Moving on to a celebration I always wanted to attend, but by the time I heard about it, that ended up happening the year after, so that never happened. TennoCon. For those who don't know, TennoCon is Warframe Digital Extremes in general's annual big festival. Usually they host it in Toronto. Yeah, no, wait. No, it's not Toronto. It is... How the hell with it?
Double kill.
My mouse, come back.
Work with me.
Work with me here. Oh my goodness. How bad is it? I have to look for like a little bit to find the actual spot. No, it's London, Ontario. My mistake. Everything happens in Toronto, so I just think Toronto. So but anyways, it usually happens in London, Ontario. On a side note, I'm quite happy about this particular convention and was quite angry when it didn't happen because of that ended up happening. Chief among them because, well, for those who don't know, me and Justin live in Canada. I think I can say that on YouTube. But
You're fine.
and because of that, it makes it quite difficult to attend conventions because, for those who don't know, most conventions happen in the States.
Yes. And not everyone is capable of going to another country all the time.
Yes, it can be quite problematic, especially when, well, okay, I wouldn't personally be against going to the States every once in a while for a convention. It's just that some of the conventions can take place in very exotic locations of the US. For example, I believe BungieCon or GuardianCon or whatever they're calling it these days takes place in Florida, which is all the way at the bottom of the US. And despite the fact that I used to live in Florida, I can tell you for a fact that just driving to Florida takes 3 days. one way.
Well, technically it can take 2, but yeah.
Technically, it takes 2. It depends on how long you go. But when I went, I remember it taking generally 2 days or 3 days. Now, granted, that doesn't count flying, but flying is even more expensive, arguably.
Yes.
So,
Yes, in some
You
cases
know.
it is way more expensive.
So it just isn't
Exhibit A, you're trying to go to another province here in Canada, and for some reason going and flying is more expensive than just driving.
especially if you're going out of Toronto Airport. God knows that prices in Toronto Airport are so expensive compared to most other airports. Granted, it is an international airport, but even so. But yeah, so TennoCon happening here in Ontario because DE themselves is actually a Canadian-based company. One of the few big companies in the gaming industry that's based in Canada. Makes it quite convenient for me. But like I said, it's quite a pain in the neck when the year I learn about this thing happening is the year that I just had missed it, and I'm like, okay, I'll go next year, and then that happens. So, yeah, I've been waiting ever since. I've been attending them digitally, but finally I will be going. So, side note, for those of you who want to meet me, maybe you will see me at TennoCon. Maybe not. Maybe you'll run into me.
Who knows?
Maybe.
Maybe.
But, so yeah, I will be attending that this year, most definitely. And that takes place in August 26th. And, again, that was one of those things that, because of that happening, ended up having to be put digitally for the past year and 2. Or the past 3 years. Yeah, 3 years. Well, I don't know. Would you count the year it takes place, like, physically again as another one of those years? I don't know. Let's just say 2.5 years. Let's go with that.
Well, we're on what, the 3rd year proper now, so yeah, I'd say like 2.5 or something.
Yeah, let's say 2.5 years then. So for the past 2.5 years, it's been digital, and I've had to attend it only digitally. I like going to conventions. For those who don't know me, I'm actually a big convention junkie. I like going to gaming conventions. I've been going to Fan Expo here in Canada in Toronto for the past 3-4 years. So, I like doing that. I also go to things like Anime North. So, yeah, I'm a big convention guy. So it's good for me to have to finally go in person again. But yeah. So that'll finally be happening in person. Like I said, that's August 26th. So that's one of the conventions that had to go digital, but is finally back. So yeah, I'd bring up more conventions just in general, but
there's only so much you can really.
Yeah, there's only so much, and for the most part, it's a weird position right now that we're in because we're still technically in spring. Most conventions are deciding if they're just going to come back physical at this point, but they're not going to the actual specifics of the convention have not even been worked out yet. So
yeah,
it'll be a while before we hear anything about what will be in those conventions, who will be attending, It's only just will they be happening or not at this point. And even then, some conventions might be earlier than others. So yeah, that's kind of a roundup of kind of what's been happening and what's not been happening on the convention scene for gaming.
Yep.
Some were made because of that happening, some had to be postponed physically because of that happening, and some, because of that happening, have just straight up died off, in the case of E3. Died off. Why did I say it that way? Whatever. Anyways. My weird way of talking, ladies and gentlemen. But anyways, so yeah, that's the roundup of conventions. What do you think, Justin? Will you be attending any big gaming conventions this year?
Maybe. Depends. I mean...
Depends on if I invite him.
Yeah, there's that too.
I tend to invite him to conventions, so... His first Game Expo was... Or his first... Fan Expo was actually with me.
Yeah.
We also went to Game Expo together, now that I think about it.
Not too long ago, no.
Yeah,
actually, pretty much around the beginning.
Actually, no, it was our first year of college.
Yeah, it was right just before. Yeah, no, the Fan Expo was
Just
the first year of college.
Yeah.
And then the expo we went to, the gaming expo, that was just before this semester. Well, not just before, it was a couple months before, but still.
I don't know. I think it was a few years back, wasn't it?
No,
I
no,
thought
it
that
was
was like in
the
2020.
most recent convention we went to. That one wasn't too long ago. That one wasn't this year. It was last year, but it was like only a little bit ago. It was around. It was around. Let me think here. The semester started around September, right?
Yeah, something like that.
So sometime around the middle of summer. That's when we went. I don't know. I can't remember exactly when
Yeah.
the expo was. But yeah.
Oh, I will have to dig that up and maybe find that out. But anyways, yeah, no. So yeah, that will depend. That will depend on if I invite him to any expos or not. He's generally not the most social, so I don't feel that he would be going to many expos by himself, if I might be blunt. I think I can say that.
Perhaps.
Perhaps. I don't know.
Perhaps.
I have definitely gone to expos both with friends and by myself, and
It's a little
you know, it
lonely
depends.
when you're by yourself.
It depends. I have gone to actually I've gone to one expo both by myself and with someone else. I have gone to one expo I've strictly always gone by myself, and that is Anime North.
Yes.
The first time I went there was by myself, as well as the second time, and yeah, no. The first time it was quite lonely. The second time I actually quite enjoyed myself a little bit. So, you know, it will depend. It can be lonely though going to an expo by yourself. It is a social thing, right?
Hmm.
So, it depends on the expo, I guess.
Double kill.
I'd say it would, yeah. What you're going to and all
Double
that.
kill.
Mm-hmm. I spent most of my first expo at
Double
Anime
kill.
North. I was just trying to, or my first convention at Anime North. I think it's the official term is convention. I've been saying expo, whatever. My first convention at Anime North, I was basically just like playing, or like I was just kind of learning what the expo was about. I had spent years at that point hearing about it from friends who had gone, but they didn't go to it anymore, so I was going along by that time. And it was just, you know, eh. The second expo, I was just enjoying it for myself, and I actually had a lot of fun talking up a lot of the stand owners, or like stall owners, and hearing the story, because apparently that year they had a massive heat wave the day before, or the few days before, and the air conditioning had only just been fixed that day I went, so I was hearing all the horror stories and stuff like that. Plus, I was hearing about how some of them had their bags lost because of airport stuff. Because
All of fun.
oh yeah, it was fun. I had a lot of fun talking up people in that convention.
Triple kill.
So yeah, all in all, eh. So yeah, go to a few conventions if you're in Canada. Maybe you will see me. Maybe you will not. I don't know.
Who knows?
Depends. Though, word of advice to anyone who goes to a convention. A little quick tip.
Triple kill.
My strategy guide. Maybe I'll make an entire video that's just a strategy guide for conventions. But quick tip. Never go to a convention with more money than you are willing to lose. It's like going to a casino. Trust me. You will lose almost all of it by the time you leave. I know for a fact. And never bother getting more. Always just take as much as you're willing to lose, and that's it. Because ATMs generally charge exorbitant rates to get money out of an ATM at a
So
convention.
yeah, another tip: yeah, if you plan on bringing cash, go and just start taking out cash from your bank or something at your bank a lot sooner.
Definitely, honestly. Just bring cash that's either in 5s or 10s, and just work like that.
Reinforcements.
And yeah, like I said, always bring no more than you are willing to lose. And that again is one of the big deciding factors of how many conventions I end up going to, is how much money am I willing to lose
What am I willing
over the
to
span of
lose
several
today?
months? How broke do I want to become over the span of several months?
Yes.
Speaking of TennoCon, it's interesting. I will specifically enjoy going to this one a lot more than I probably would in general, because there was a big shakeup in leadership recently with a lot of the old creators moving on to another project in the studio and kind of
Triple kill.
tossing the rings over to other members of the team. So it'll be interesting to see who comes to the TennoCon in terms of leadership and who doesn't. Actually, funny enough, I actually met one of the people who works at Digital Extremes, a studio manager, I think it was. I actually got him to sign a book actually he wrote.
Sniper spree.
Interesting book, but regardless. Anyways, I'm getting sidetracked. But yeah, that's a few quick tips from me and Justin of convention survival, I guess. Convention survival 101.
Double kill.
But yeah, so any other words or tips we want to impart before we go, Justin?
I don't really have much of anything. I've only ever been to 2 conventions, so can't really say too much on that front. But yeah, no matter what, if you do plan on bringing cash, follow my advice. Get it, like, basically start going and taking out cash a couple months before. Like, plan ahead if you actually want to go to the expo. And then if you do, start taking out some cash here and there.
How low is your, like, withdrawal limit?
I think I have just like 100 base. Like, I think my account's just been like the base, but my bank's been like, hey, you can increase your limit. You've got like a really good credit rating. How about you increase your limit and then stop paying your bill, your things and all that. That way we can go and take a bunch of your money.
Honestly, I need a credit card. I still do not have a credit card. I really need to get one of these days. Oh well.
So yeah.
But yeah, no. Honestly, yeah, no. Remember, survival tips. Get your money in advance. Never take never take any more than you're willing to lose. Like, set an upper limit. That is how I know usually when I'm done a convention. I'll be like, I'll come into a convention with, say, $300 or something like that. 400, I don't know. Depends. Depends on the convention and how much stuff there is. And I'll be like, okay, I have this much money, and once it's done, I will buy nothing more. And that, in a way, teaches you also, if you do that, to kind of spread your money and make it last. So you don't just blow it off on expensive stuff.
Yeah.
Because you're like, okay, this is interesting, but maybe I can find it cheaper. Oh yeah, there's another good tip for all of you before we go.
Well, I'm going to say this real quick. It's a good tip, but not a perfect tip.
Well, in fairness, you got screwed when we went to a one convention. No, it was another guy. You were the one that bought the lightsaber at the convention, and we found out that you could find it cheaper and better somewhere else.
Yes, but that wasn't a good thing.
What do you mean it wasn't a good thing?
Because it was botched and broke. So now I just use this as a practice thing to swing around. That way I know what I'm doing.
Always never spend your money like immediately. Like try not to impulse buy at conventions, right? Always walk around for a little bit. Walk around to the stalls. If you see something you like, maybe buy it if it's one of the last ones there, maybe. But if it's not one of those things, you might be able to find it somewhere else. Walk around, see if you can find it cheaper, because trust me, both Justin and another one of my friends who I sometimes take to conventions had that experience with dice, and I always like to tell this story. But yeah, he was buying a nice set of dice because he's a big D&D player. And I always like telling this story to people, but he bought the dice set, and I told him, wait, save your money. You might be able to find a better quality, cheaper somewhere else. And it was a set of plastic dice. Really nice dice, but plastic dice. And I can't remember how much he paid for it, but he basically blew his whole budget for it. We were walking around, no less than, 5-10 minutes later, maybe a bit more. He sees a nice set of metal dice that are even better for, get this, cheaper. But he blew all his money on the plastic dice. Oh, I did not hear the end of that until we left that convention and then some. So always remember when you're shopping around at a convention, wait a little bit before you buy stuff. Go shopping around. You might find something nicer for cheaper. Or you just might find the same thing cheaper. You never know.
You never know.
You never know. That's the fun part about conventions. You never know what you'll find.
But like I said, be careful. Because I'll say this for what it was. In the case of the lightsaber, I could have either bought it directly from the source or bought it secondhand, and I bought it secondhand.
And that was a mistake.
So that's why it was cheaper, because it was secondhand. So if you're able to do a little bit of searching, if you're able to like look into who's selling it at the moment. But
That is a good point as well.
yeah, because
Always see who you're
I'd be
buying
willing to bet if I bought it from the source, it probably would have been better.
But more expensive, definitely. I remember that when we were at
Yeah,
the
but it was
convention.
only like an extra what, $10?
Yeah, maybe 10
Is
bucks.
$10
Yeah, I don't remember the exact-
really that bad for getting it from the source?
Well, you bought it on credit, so you tell me.
Well, my credit rating's awesome, so I don't know what to tell you on that front, dude. I've got good
That's
credit.
true as well. That is true. He has great credit.
I pay my fucking thing every 15 days.
I pay my bills. I'm a tax-paying citizen.
Like, I keep up to date on that.
But anyways, so there you go. There's some convention survival 101 tips from Nick and Justin. Oh my goodness.
mean-
oh yeah, one more.
No matter what, when you go to a convention, make sure it's something you actually want to go to. Like the main
Definitely.
purpose is to go and have fun. So if you're going there and you're not even having fun at all, then you have to ask yourself, why are you there?
Definitely. Always remember, the biggest part about a convention, golden rule, is to have fun. You know, that's the point of a convention. They're meant to be big social events for people who enjoy what the convention's about, right?
Double kill.
That's why I like going to things like Fan Expo and, Anime North. Because I like seeing all the pop culture at Fan Expo. I like bringing people along like Justin. And I like going to Anime North, even if it's just by myself, because I will admit this openly, I'm a big fucking weeb. That is something I will always admit to. No bones at hiding that. But anyways,
No skeletons in this closet.
not in that way anyway. But so yeah, there you go. There's your convention updates. What's coming back, what's not coming back, what's changed, as well as some of our own personal survival tips from our own experiences at a convention. Always good to remember. And like I said, remember, golden rule is to have fun at the conventions, right?
There you go.
There you go. Yep, there you go.
Alright, enjoy me going and eliminating threats while also getting blown up.
Gamer skills on display.
Gaming.
Put this man in the esports team.
I mean,
Would you play an esports team? I don't know. Would you?
depends on the game. Like,
Would you play a Team Fortress esports team?
probably, because every time I go and watch those kinds of like streams and videos and stuff, I think to myself, why is this guy doing this? Like, literally more ways than one. You're screwing your own teammate over, dude. Why?
It's like watching
Why
a regular.
do you take the health back from the medic? You fool.
He's starting to sound like a gamer who's like, this is starting to sound like exactly what you hear when you listen to like a soccer player or football player. Why'd you make that pass? He should have gone to the left. Oh my lord, goalie, what are you doing?
Why didn't you go down that hallway? You were supposed to go down that hallway.
Go down the left hallway. Oh, shoot him, shoot him. Oh, he died. For those people who judge, for those sports players in the crowd who judge esports players, let me tell you, I know both types of people. You are no bloody different. I can say that because I do not watch mostly sports or esports, so I can say that objectively from both perspectives.
Yes.
There is very little difference between esports players, esports watchers, and regular football or soccer ball or regular sport watchers. There is no difference. Both have a tendency to yell at the TV.
Yes. Or in this case, the screen.
Or at the general screen. It's just about different things.
Yes.
But
the
anyway.
reasons are different, but the methods are the same.
Methods are the same, yep, totally.
Double kill.
But anyways, that's the show, guys. Hope you all enjoyed. See you guys next week. We'll probably get back to more business as usual. We're doing them on weird days the last 2 weeks, but that's because, like, this week was exams,
Yeah.
And last week was me because I screwed up for reasons. But anyways,
But
that's
yeah,
beside
no,
the point.
for the most part, exams are going to be done at the end of the week here, so things should be some semblance of normal at the end here.
Yes. Though, before we go, maybe it's a bit too early to mention, but I'll mention it anyway. Coming up in the next few months, maybe the next 2 or 3 months, I will be gone for 2 weeks on a trip to Italy with my college.
Yes.
Think of it like a business trip, but also a bit of a enjoyment trip as well. So we will have to see how videos work. We're still in the process of
Chan-
talking about how those videos work.
Chances are we might do recordings and do some of our little discussion type videos of talking about like a topic, and we're just gonna have those kind of lined up for a little while.
Yeah, we'll have those lined up for like 2 weeks.
Or if anything, I might do some things on my own, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we're still in the process of discussing that. Just thought I'd bring that up with you guys so you guys know well in advance. Like I said, we'll figure out how things are working. We're still in the figuring out of that stage ourselves. But anyway, so yeah, that's that. That's the conventions. That's the roundup. That's some safety tips and some shopkeeping stuff, I guess. So yeah, have a good week, guys. And if you're at a convention, stay safe. Remember, have fun.
And remember, they're watching.
They're watching. What are you on about, boy?
Yes, the convention watchers. Always watching the convention through the live stream.
Now I'm just picturing you in like the security room staring at all the cameras.
Yes, who has a camera?
They're watching.
Who's recording the stream?
But you see just someone come out of the floor. They're watching. Just eyes back in the floor. Anyways, have a good week, everybody.